There were two main locations, the airport and the bar, but the funniest part was flying the drone. I remember zero about this.
Let's just go for it.
Ciao, my name is Valerio and I am an Italian living in Copenhagen. In this series, I'll bring you on set. I'll talk about pre-production, life on set, technical setups, and post-production. But most importantly, I'll show you how flexible we must be in our work, finding the best balance between professionalism and getting the best shot. I think we have no first one. I might cut in with cropping or something like that. Today, I will share my first real commercial, but I also want to talk about how this gig made me think. I don't want to be a director, I want to be a cinematographer. Some years ago, Bar Deco hired me for a series of videos and pictures of their cocktails menu and events. And after a few months, they actually offered me the chance to create a custom commercial to promote an event with Macallan, supported by Semler and specifically Bentley cars. Limited budget, but full freedom. This is also the story of how my team and I had to deal with the air traffic control of Roskilde Airport. It's a story of how one of my main clients back then trusted me entirely. And it's yet another story that shows of how having the nicest equipment and the biggest team are not the key factors if you have the right people and ideas. Sometimes clients don't have a clear vision, and then it's really up to us directing them as much as we can. But the client had the vision in mind, so one meeting and we were set. About 2-minute commercial, something exclusive like the bottle that was going to be served at this special tasting, but that was full on me. No director back then, and I had to question myself how to translate their request into an idea. So I pitched this. What if we create a story about time represented by a woman, and at the same time show how exclusiveness lays somewhere not tangible, and this place no place is the bar where the event will happen. Yes, it's a bit complex, but they like this. And so, as usual, first I went for a mood board to get a feeling, and then a detailed storyboard. And giving the mood to a production is actually not easy. Other than what you really want, there are other things to battle with, such as locations and budget. There were two main locations, the airport and the bar. This allowed me to think of a cold-ish look for the airport scenes, in contrast with the warmness of the interiors where time was passing. And once again, I'm here underlining the importance of having a solid pre-production. Things can go wrong or can be improvised, but if the structure is there, then you'll always fall on your feet. Or you have time for creative shots, for example. And that is exactly what happened. This was also one of the first time I worked with Louis, later one of the directors I worked the most with, who on this set was the camera and drone operator, and Kespa as first AC. The plan was to start at Roskilde early in the morning, at around 8, and then move to the bar by 11, while filming some B-rolls on the way. At the bar, we were supposed to shoot the scenes with Natalia, but also the close-up of the bottle, and we had time until 16. Starting off with a bang. The talent, and partially the client, was 2 hours late. Indeed, a lot of extra time for us to set our cameras. My Zcam E2F6 on sticks and handheld, and Louis' Zcam E2S6 on a gimbal. The first Zcam was released in 2015, and I heard about it when I decided to purchase my first so-called cine camera. When I started, I was filming with an iPhone 8. Then I moved to a Panasonic Lumix GH4 because I knew the brand. Actually, my first photo camera was a Lumix G2. I remember when my parents gave it to me, and my father was so excited that it was the first camera able to let the user select focus and shoot directly on the screen, right? So I took like thousands of pictures with it, and I still have it with me. After a while, I realized that neither the GH4 was much of my taste anymore. I dug into the market and brought to a sort of final 3 cameras: the Pocket 4K, the Panasonic VH1, and the Zcam E2M4. And after a few weeks, I pulled the trigger and bought the Zcam. And then, after a couple of years, I upgraded to the full-frame version that I still own, and I never looked back. I tried a lot of cameras, and unless you put me in front of giants, I always pick the Zcam over anything else. And scenarios like this ones are where it shines. Rigging it on a gimbal is extremely easy. It's quite light. And to make it even easier, I picked the dual-lens Apo Mini Primes, some of the lightest cinema lenses. Apo stands for apochromatic. An Apo lens has a better correction of chromatic aberration. Standard lenses usually align 2 wavelengths of light, red and blue, while Apo align 3, so also green, converging to the same focal point. This characteristic helps the lens correcting color fringing, like magenta edges or softer focus, especially happening while wide open or with high contrast edges. Well, this long explanation also covered all the time lost in the morning, and once the client arrived, we filmed some scenes, mainly using natural light with a kick given from a non-light Ursa 300B placed outdoor. For the interior shot of the airplane, we were again helped by non-light 300B, while inside there was a small non-light power tube and some negative fill from the side. But the funniest part was flying the drone. Well, even though Roskilde Airport is a small one, it's still a fully functional airport administrated by the same company that handled Copenhagen Airport. Therefore, we had to go through a lot of security to start with and had to get in touch with the air traffic control before every takeoff. It was actually such a unique experience. On the way to the bar, we filmed some B-rolls in the car and a couple of drone shots. I actually planned to set up a bar deco beforehand. For this specific environment, I went for the light bridge kit. The kit includes 4 different sizes, with the biggest one being 50 by 50 and 4 different surfaces, or maybe 3, varying from hard to soft diffusion. They're great for a few reasons. First, the kit is really small, allowing a setup in almost every scenario. This comes extremely handy for production on a budget. They're developed to make light seems extremely organic, without unwanted spill and with a detailed control. It is also easy to create layers setup using just one light source. You may wonder, can I just use a mirror for reflection or let the light pass through some sort of diffuser? In the first scenario with a mirror, you have 100% specular reflection with a very hard light output. While for the second case, let's take muslin as an example. It typically has 60 to 70% of lost light, while the light bridge kit guarantees a 3% loss. So basically, what the Lightbridge kit is really good at is helping cinematographers lighting small rooms while having an effect very close to sunlight, or moonlight, or any sort of huge source, without the use of any crazy strong light, without rigging too many things on sets such as diffusers and flags, and especially without the need of being very far from the subject. But let's then check 2 real-life scenarios, specifically on this production. This was the setup for the scene. As you can see, it's really small and simple, and I used 2 different panels. The first one was a 50 by 50, soft, to light the talent and the background, while the second one, still using just one light source, again a Forza 300B, was a small 7 by 7 with a medium surface that helped me highlighting the hands and the hourglass on the table. Literally nothing else than that. And for this other angle, I just had a small Forza 60B with a blue gel bounced to a 7 by 7 hard surface in a lot of smoke. You can clearly see the panel reflected in the cabinet, but it doesn't bother me at all. But let's go back 1 second. Do you remember that the day started 2 hours late? Yeah, we were late, and everyone was tired. Spending almost 3 hours out in the airport in full winter is just not nice. The bar had to open, so change of plans. I decided to send Kesper and Louis home, and I went to my old office where I had a small white background. I put a couple of albums from Mac Miller and took my time to create the final setup of the day, the bottle details. So another setup. And again, the light bridge kit. I had the 25 by 25 with medium diffusion, then an aperture 100 with a lantern to wrap the light around the bottle and 2 small LED to lit the background. That was it. To make the bottle rotate, I used a small manual rotating table from IKEA, and these blue cloth thingy are basically curtains, again from IKEA. It was a bit tricky and it took me a couple of hours. I'm almost tired of repeating myself, but once the pre-production is done correctly, everything runs just great. And post-production, especially in a commercial like this one, is just an easy game, and this was no exception. I was almost forgetting sound and voiceover. For sound, I sent a reference track to my friend composer David Capuzzi, who made an excellent job creating an original score for this. Black Daniels gave his voice for a final immersive touch.
Often things can happen in a day that doesn't happen in a year.
When I look at this work, I realized that back then I made the right choice. I remember when Nikita and Stefano asked me to show them my past jobs while I was having a job interview at NG. And this was exactly what made Stefano think I could do some proper lighting and got me a secure position at NG, where I still am after many years. What do I mean by saying that? Well, I could have heard more. I think I ended up getting something like 700 euros for this, which is literally nothing considering the amount of hours spent. But what did I get in return? A product that I can still show after so many years, and a lot of job opportunities. And I help a recurring client with something way better than what they expected. But should we apply all the time this way of thinking? It depends on where we are in life, or what a specific production can give us in a particular moment of our life. But personally, I will always prioritize a direction that will help me grow, that will give me something back in terms of emotions and experiences, rather than doing this mainly for the money. And again, we all have different needs. I just feel so privileged to do this job for a living, and I feel that sometimes I can just give something back. Per aspera, ad asti.